Hello, everybody. Welcome to the United Stand. The men are in the house. The old guard are here, and we are bringing the Christmas spirit to you. I have got Jay in his, what can only describe as Santa's little helper sort of outfit there. He's even got the elf hairdo going on there as well. He's playing the part big time tonight. Kev, you were looking forward to this week, mate, weren't you? Christmas jumper week.
I love it, mate.
It's here, mate. It's here.
Jay is Santa's big helper. Let's get it right as well.
Yeah, let's say that. Let's say that. And we've got the man
it's like this,
himself.
boys. Santa sits on my knee.
Yeah. Last but not least, we've got the man himself. Ricky hasn't got a Christmas jumper, but he's got the Christmas hat and he's in the Christmas spirit. Ricky, are you all good, mate?
Sound, mate, yeah, sound.
Nice one, nice one. Guys, we're all a little bit more chirpier today. Yeah, it is Christmas jumper day and everyone's got a little bit of a Christmas spring in their step. But the Premier League have been meeting today. We was all watching, we was all hoping, listening, wherever you was, driving around, working, whatever, that we was going to get some news. We was going to get the news we wanted to hear. It's one of them scenarios at the moment where it could be anything. It's day by day, and we're just hoping that the news the next day is better than the previous. But they have said, guys, that we are going to try and go ahead with the Christmas fixtures. What will come in January, we'll discuss that in a minute. But first of all, Ricky, I'm going to come to you, mate. We've not had football to digest for over a week now. We're disappointed that we've not seen the Brighton and Brentford games, which I thought were going to be both tough games, good games to watch, but tough games. I mean, what have you been doing yourself, first of all, Rick, mate? Have you managed to survive with no football? Plenty of other teams to watch.
There's not been literally no football, has there? I've watched a few of the other games. Yeah, it's been a sickening United's games being off. I was actually going to Brentford. I had a ticket for the Brentford game and I was going to go. I was gutted that was off in that respect. But the way we played at Norwich, I'll tell you what, I was double interested when I heard, what's he called there, man? Is it Thomas Frank, is he called? When I heard his interview a few days after that game was supposed to take place. And he said that, and he's not the only one, there's a few that have said, all clubs need to be more transparent. I think what they mean by that is you've got to tell us exactly who's ill and who's not ill, or exactly who's positive, and and then decide. I don't know. The officialdom should decide whether you've got enough players or not. Do you know what I mean? So he's on about clubs being more transparent. But then he said because I believe all managers, and he said, and I include myself, all managers will try to get every possible improvement and any advantage that they can take, they will take it, whatever it might be. And I believe what he's saying is that it's there to be, if you don't fancy a game, if you've got, you might have enough players to play.
Yeah. You got to get out of jail card.
Because it's a game that you probably lose without those players, or you might well lose, and you might have a better chance. It may be that you've got 6 players. I don't know how this works, by the way. Like, was it Leicester? Leicester had 9 players missing, didn't they, and got a game postponed. But I think only 4 of them were with COVID. If you had 9 players injured, I think you'd have a lot more difficulty getting a game postponed. Most of them were out with injury or suspension, or more than half of them were.
This is it, mate.
So
this is it.
I think that Thomas Frank might have been having a stab at us. He might have been saying,
"Oh, he was. Oh, mate, no, he was.
He was that game off. You know what I mean,
mate? It wasn't. It might have been. He was definitely having a go. Jake. I think clarity is the biggest thing out of all this, because we've heard Thomas Tuchel and Chelsea's scenario, and how they thought they were hard done by having to play that Wolves game with more COVID players than what Leicester had, that Ricky just mentioned, and it is a tough one at the moment. We're looking at it now, moving ahead. Thankfully, we haven't got that Carabao Cup game this week. And we've actually got a week now before our next game. We don't play Newcastle till Monday. And I think there's every opportunity we should have players back by that time, considering it was before the Brentford game, which was last Tuesday. So I think as long as everyone stays healthy, I think we should be seeing our game. We should be one of the teams that actually see a Boxing Day game, mate, although ours is the next day. But are you hopeful that we're going to get this game on now, Jay, after what was said today as well?
Yeah, based on Thomas Frank's comments, I think he's correct. Every manager is going to find every loophole he possibly can to extrapolate the maximum possible advantage. And if tactically or physically his squad isn't ready for a game, a manager, of course, he's going to try, and how would I put it, circumvent the current set of rules and get a game called off and hide behind the wall of COVID. And I would imagine that we had enough players fit enough to play that last game, but we too hid behind the wall of COVID. So I think it's sad state of affairs that, you know, if a squad had 5-6 players injured, as Ricky pointed out, a game wouldn't be called off. There'd be no dispensation whatsoever. It'd be, you've got a squad, that's why it's there, get on with it. But now with the current furlough that's COVID and the Omicron variant, I think clubs are hiding behind it and getting games called off, which ultimately, if the Premier League don't get the house in order, which I think they have in the short term, but the long term, we'll soon find out. With it being a very short season, bearing in mind the World Cup is next Christmas time, when our top tier teams going to play FA Cup, Champions League, and the remaining league matches based in such a short window. So I think ultimately managers that have been trying to circumvent games, get games put in the hole and postponed, in the fullest of time, they're probably shooting themselves in the foot, because I think ultimately it's going to lead to injuries.
That's it. I mean, it's a lot of it's like what Thomas Frank was saying, Kev, mate, and what Ricky was alluding to is like, not all of these players are COVID cases. There's a lot of injuries mixed in here. I mean, you look at the Leeds squad and everyone's going on to about Leeds and stuff, and how it's a credit for them for actually playing their games. Half of them, well, most of their players out are just simple football injuries, mate. They carry on. Do you know what I mean? We're hearing now the Premier League today again said there's 92% of Premier League footballers now on the COVID trail, i.e. they've had one jab, waiting for the second, or even going for the booster now, which is good. It's what we want to hear, mate. I mean, confident that we're actually going to see football now, because we're the only country, mate, in European football that's had cancellations because of COVID. Germany, France, Spain, Italy, they're all having zero cancellations, mate. Premier League is the only one that's calling games off right now. You confident from what the Premier League have said today that we can actually get games ahead? I know we'll touch on with fans or without fans soon enough, but I mean, are you confident we're going to get some football pre-2022, Kev? Anything?
Oh, God, I hope so. I really hope so. It's such a difficult one to call. I mean, when you've got Boris in charge of the country, and he doesn't really fill you with much sort of enthusiasm for the Christmas period, because when the man says he's working from hour to hour and anything can change, it's literally at the minute kind of a ticking time bomb. We as football fans are obviously hoping that we can watch Manchester United over Christmas, but anything could change now over the next couple of days. And I suppose that is the concern and the worry. And just touching back on the Brentford game, personally, I believe Manchester United could have fulfilled that fixture. I think, if anything, probably a lot to do with Rangnick. I mean, look, the time he's had with this squad, he's come in with these players, and I think he's definitely played on that. He's definitely to bide himself more time, another week. I know there'll be people saying, well, they can't train on the training ground. It depends what players it is. And no disrespect to players like, let's just say Phil Jones, players, fringe players. If they're the ones that have got COVID, then it's the fact that the annoying thing is that they're hiding behind this kind of, like Jay rightly said, this wall of COVID. Chelsea, having to fulfill their fixtures, that they were open and come out and said exactly who has COVID. But there are certain teams that are using this and definitely hiding behind it. But I would say that Rangnick maybe has played on this slightly from a management perspective and thought, well, if I can get an extra week, get my philosophy, my ideas of working with these players and that across to them, I get another week, which is priceless from his point of view, then maybe from his point of view, he has played a bit of a blinder here. But it's horrible because of the circumstances and what's happening, that football clubs are actively looking to take advantage of what is actually happening and what's going on in the world, because it's serious. But, you know, these massive clubs are just taking advantage of it.
I think you've hit the nail right on the head there, Kevin, because when you think that it's a new manager in charge, he's had the one game against Palace where, you know, we did all right, we won the game, but we didn't create loads of chances, did we? We were just solid and more compact than we normally are. Then it was like the reserve team that played against young boys.
Yeah.
But then at Norwich, that was the first time. It's only his second league game, so it's only the second game that he's played the first team in. In his second game, let's be honest, he must have been stunned how poor he were. He must have been stunned.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm going to touch on that now, actually, Ricky.
Let me just finish. That was on a Saturday. On the Tuesday, we're playing Norwich. There's only 2 days in between. They probably won't train on the Sunday because they've played Saturday. They've got one training day before they're supposed to play Brentford. And Brentford's a much tougher nut to crack than Norwich. Much tougher. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Well, this is it. On this,
he just thought, if I can play that game in another month or 6 weeks, I've got that. That's like Frank said. It's about gaining an advantage. He's got more chance of getting points out of that game if it's played in 6 weeks than he would have had if it was played on that Tuesday night.
On that, actually, it's a very good point, actually, because it takes me into my next bit. Jay, I'll get your thoughts on it first, mate. If anything, I would say that the team that's been affected by this the most was Tottenham. And we touched on how scared we was about the players and how they would come back fitness-wise. I think Antonio Conte showed yesterday that little bit of extra time on the training ground goes a long way, because Spurs were at it yesterday. They were organised. You could see Conte running through their veins yesterday. Literally, I've not seen Dele Alli play like that for a very, very long time. And like Kevin, like Ricky said, making the big point there about Rangnick taking advantage of this situation, another loophole that they're all too willing to jump through. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but a manager in his situation with this throwing on him, I think he's took that extra time, mate. And I don't think he's particularly bothered, because if we can get some sort of reaction like Conte has with this extra break, with Spurs being off for what is it, about 2 weeks now? Ours is going to be very similar to this. Then there is hope that it actually could work in our favour as well going forward in terms of these players and working with Rangnick's tactics. A bit more time, like Ricky says. Take advantage of the situation, Jay, because Spurs did it yesterday in a big way, mate.
That's a lovely term of phrase you said there. Conte in their veins. Go back to Rab's coaching conference that he moderated back in September in London. And he said his job as a coach is to instill his football philosophy and his tactics in the players' brains and veins. So it's a lovely segue. And definitely Rangnick he's probably said back, I think, right. This squad has been abysmal against Norwich. I've got to play Brentford in 2 days' time. Much tougher side. Really, I don't think they're up for it. I don't think they're going to go to Brentford and actually get a win. So what do I need? I need more time. I need more time to instill my tactics, more time in training ground. I know I'm going to be getting rid of McKenna. Well, get rid of McKenna, or did McKenna leave? Who cares? And I need time to bring in my sports psychiatrist. So I have a lot of work on my hands, and here I am trying to change the philosophy and mindset of these players. So I need more time. And I think an opportunity arose for a game to be called off, and it was fortuitous at the weekend that another game was called off. And again, that provides more time in the training ground, and more time physically with the players, just to, I suppose, get inside their brains and their mindsets. So Spurs yesterday against Liverpool, that was a completely different mentality of a Spurs side that we saw that played us. The Spurs team that played us, it was like a bunch of under 14-year-old boys. They didn't try a leg. And yesterday, Dele Alli actually looked like a football player again. He actually realised that he actually had to earn a living playing football, not just being a bench warmer. It was the best game Dele Alli had in years. And that's testament to Conte. So I just sitting here now hoping that the extra 2 weeks is more time for our guy to instill his beliefs and his philosophy in the players. But if we rock up against Newcastle the after Boxing Day, and we see the same abject performance that we saw against Norwich, well then clearly, gentlemen, many of those players either A, don't have the intelligence to adapt to a new tactical philosophy, or quite simply, they aren't up for it. So Radnick, that game against Newcastle, that's going to show him mentally what his players are actually made of. It's put up or shut up time for him.
That's it, Ricky. I mean, on that, pal, do you feel like, I mean, it was a benefit. I was worried that the players were going to come back unfit or a bit lackluster with how it's affected some Premier League players. Obviously, Spurs came back. People are saying it was an under strength Liverpool team and whatnot, and Spurs were lucky. I think that's the best Spurs have played all season. It's going to take time for Ralph, Ricky. He's taken that extra bit of time and he's going to use it. How he's going to use it, how he's going to play it, it's anyone's guess, mate. But can you see changes ahead now? Can you see any sort of changes coming in if we do get this Newcastle game ahead compared? Because first time in a long time that I can remember, mate, that United have been unchanged for 3 straight Premier League matches, Ricky. Can you see anything coming in?
Well, I've done a little bit of homework. I've been watching.
Just a bit. That looked like an essay, mate. That.
I've been watching all his press conferences. I've watched his press conferences, and I've studied carefully and listened carefully to everything he's said about different players after each game and the press conference, as I say, and I've got a sneaky feeling, and I know that everybody's against it. Anthony Martial. I've read in one newspaper today that he's now 5th choice striker. You know, so that's I assume that's behind Ronaldo. Who am I missing?
Cavani, Greenwood, Rashford.
Cavani. So they've got him in the paper. They're saying he's 5th choice striker. How did he know he's 5th choice striker? He's been injured since he got a knee injury, didn't he? Or so they said. Sometimes I think there's a smokescreen with injuries, so I can't hide behind that. But they did say he had a knee injury. He's not been in the squad because he's had a knee injury. How did he know that he's 5th choice striker? And lots of people are saying he's out on his head. And I know that his agent has made those comments that sent me bins off to read these. But a couple of things that he said about Martial, right? In his first press conference, he made a joke when he was asked. He was asked if he was on a bonus to try and sign Haaland, right? And he said that I'm happy with the attacking players that we've got against Arsenal, because he wasn't in charge against Arsenal. Against Arsenal, even Anthony Martial only got 10 minutes. That doesn't sound like a manager who doesn't rate that player. So pointing out that player only got 10 minutes and saying, I'm happy with our attacking players, and Martial only got 10 minutes. Later afterwards, not in that press conference, but when the agent had made those comments, he was asked about that. And when he was asked about that, he said, I don't speak to agents through the press or the media. If Martial wants to leave, he needs to come and tell me or the board. Now, I don't know how that sounds to you. That sounds to me like a manager talking about a player that he doesn't want to leave. He's putting, as far as I'm concerned, he's putting a barrier in the way. If you want to leave, you better come and tell me. Right? Now, that's just on Anthony Martial. Now, I've been listening to what he talks about other players, how often he mentions physicality. Time and time again. He was asked about Mason Greenwood in the first press conference. Sometimes on an athletic level, we have to. It doesn't look developed physically. We need to develop him physically. And then again, to another question, I'm not worried about him on a technical level, but we do need to develop him physically and athletically. After the Young Boys game, he was asked by the interviewer, you're looking for players to stake a claim. Mason Greenwood did that with a fantastic goal. And his answer was yes, but it was also good to see Luke Shaw back. Hopefully he can be a candidate for the Norwich game. Now, a player that he's already said twice isn't quite physically strong enough for his liking. He's deflected that question. His answer was simply yes. He's not going to say no, is he? You know what I mean? He's not going to say no. So yes, but he immediately deflects it and starts talking about somebody else. It was good to see Luke Shaw back, not Mason Greenwood. In other words, the actual answer to the guy's question, because the question was, is one of these players looking at like pushing to get back in the first team? And he basically said, yes, Luke Shaw, didn't he? Do you know what I mean? So on to the Norwich game. I'm on about physicality here. On the Norwich game, 7 times he mentioned physicality. It was a very physical and intense game. This is in a short interview. Secondly, in the second half, we had a better body language up front. So he's picking on the forwards. We had a better body language. So he's basically saying the body language was okay in the rest of the field throughout the game. Up front, it was a bit better up front in the second half. He was asked again about something else, and he said it's about physicality and body language. 4th time, you need to be physically present, and this was not always the case. In some situations, it was the case, but not always. He was asked another question about controlling the game. To get control of a game like this, you need to be physically present in all positions, and this was not always the case. So in all positions, he's picking on a player or two, right? 6th time in the same interview, you need to be physically brave and compete at that kind of level with regard to physicality. He mentioned physicalness 6 or 7 times in a short interview. And this is something we didn't do in all positions. Again, in all positions.
Okay.
There's 2 to go. The interviewer said to him, how hard will it be to get some of those attacking players up to that level? And he said, it's how we play as a team, but of course it's about who wins balls and winning second balls. And in each position, this was not the case. It was in some positions, but not others. Now, the way he's talking about, who's he talking about there from that game against Norwich? Obviously, Greenwood came on as a sub. Greenwood only came on, he got half an hour, didn't he? Rashford played, Sancho played. He's definitely talking about the attacking positions. I doubt that he's talking about Ronaldo. You know what I mean?
Well, you don't know, Rick, do you, though? You don't know, mate. He could, if he's going to be fair, he's going to be labelling that at literally everyone in that forward line. I do think that Ronaldo comes under the category of his spot, he's up for grabs as well. If he's being honest and he's being fair with everyone, Kev, I'm just going to ask you now, mate, to break down all of Ricky's comments there, mate, and sum that all up for me, please. And tell me, mate, which player is Ricky talking about?
In a nutshell, is criticising the forwards against Norwich.
Is that why you think? Martial's got a chance, Ricky? Yeah.
Yeah, because he's already spoken about Martial just to say that. Obviously he'd only got 10 minutes against Arsenal.
As a number 9, Ricky.
Hey?
Do you mean Martial as a number 9, as a striker?
It's got to be in the top 2 of the treble 3, hasn't it?
Well, no, they ain't playing like that now, are they? He actually stated that he's playing with 2 forwards now. Come on, even the biggest Marcus Rashford fan has got to see that he was terrible in that Norwich game. Terrible.
He was better in the second half, though. That's what Ranić was saying. That's what Ranić was saying, wasn't it? He said he's
playing with 2 forwards. And if you're playing with 2 forwards, and I've been saying this for bleeding 2 years on this channel, Anthony Martial is streets and streets ahead. He's stronger. He holds the ball up better. I'm telling you that. He's talking about physicality. I'm hoping, and I actually believe, that he can see it and he understands the game.
The problem. Go on, Kev.
Sorry, I was going to say my personal choice when fully fit would be Ronaldo and Cavani. Well, I have got no issue with. We go on about everybody's got a clean slate, and I, for one, will say Rashford's performances recently have been I won't even say bang average. He's been shocking recently, Marcus Rashford, for whatever reason. If he wants to claim it's an injury, niggle, or since this operation, he's not been the same player, I would have no issue. And I think I said on the last show, when we were talking about Martial possibly leaving Manchester United, I more or less said the comment of, well, if he wants to go, he can go. And that was at the time, as Ricky's just referenced, the agent coming out and saying he wants to leave Manchester United and that, although Martial hasn't come out and said it himself. But one thing I did say is I would prefer to start Martial over Rashford any day of the week at this moment in time, because for me, he offers much, much more than what Rashford is doing at the minute. And I know for Martial, I think he needs an arm round him, somebody to say, a confidence lift. He could possibly get that from Ranić now. He's got a fresh start at Manchester United. The thing that annoyed me was this story coming out when you think, come on, mate, you've got a new manager in. Would you not want to impress him? But we're going off hearsay because it's a media story that's been whipped up and the agent's name gets thrown in and we get, it's the context of it all when you break it down. You know, does Martial actually want to leave United?
Exactly that. I mean, when agents talk, we assume, don't we, that the players obviously got to be in touch with them. They must know, and they must have conversations behind the scenes. But one man, Jay, who I know you've been waiting patiently there, mate, Santa's little helper, or big helper, we should say. One other man who falls into Ricky's category of physicality, work rate, things like that, and he's in a very similar situation to Martial, is Jesse Lingard. Now, it's been reported that Lingard is going to wait it out now till the summer. I know he gets more money when he goes on a free, so I'm sort of looking at that as a little bit of a reason why, possibly. But he said, and you can take this again, it's another comment. We laughed at Martial leaving comments. Do you take Jesse Lingard's comments serious that he wants to fight and get in this team as well with Martial? For me, mate, he had a chance in that game against Young Boys, and he probably needs a few more to prove it. But Lingard, Martial, these players, can they get back in this team?
I am sick to my kits of Jesse Lingard saga. We donated 20 minutes last August to Lingard. Went through his career at United on a show. We were all in agreement that he was a bench player at best, and he never played consistently for 10, 15, 20 games. There was that brief spell where he was messing Lingard for about 2 months. That's 2 months in, 10 years? Yeah, 10 years at the club. Well, he's there since he's a teenager. So I'm sick of the Lingard thing. Lingard should have gone last August, end of story. But Ole Gunnar Solskjaer bottled it. Told Lingard that he was spotting the side. Lingard believed him. And now Lingard is going to sit on the bench and went on his contract. And fans have been very, very fast to slag off Paul Pogba, myself included, for wanting to sit there and use up his contract and go on a free and make mega money. Lingard is doing the same thing. This story came out today. I don't know what news source it was. It escapes me. Some in the comments will know. Lingard wants to stay and play for his place. That's absolute bullshit. If Lingard wanted to play football and wanted to actually fight for his place in a football team and ultimately play for England in the World Cup, he'd be going in January for 15, 20 million, whatever it was, to a mid-table Premiership team, because that is his level. He's a squad player at best. That's all he is. He's not a first-team player. And Adam, as you pointed out there, and we discussed it after the game, Young Boys, he did the best impression of a ghost I've seen all season, apart from Scott McTominay. He was a terrible against Young Boys. He shouldn't be on the pitch. And that was the example that Lingard set to those young kids that were on the bench, and it started. That a player that came up through the youth academy, playing Champions League football now for his club, along with, I call them young kids because they're all 18, 19, 20-year-olds, young kids. And Lingard, he's your flag bearer. He's come through the ranks. He's now playing for the club, senior pro, and that's the performance he puts out. I'm sorry. I want Lingard gone, and the faster the better. So if Lingard is prepared... Sorry, Ricky, go ahead.
I say I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah, thank you. I want him gone in January. If it's 10 million, get rid of him. He's a glorified bench warmer. That's all he is.
It was I just want to touch. You said it, Jay.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, Adam. I'm sick of listening to the Lingard crap. I'm actually sick of it at this stage. Just on one point there, Ricky, about Martial, that I want to touch on. The key word that you picked up on Rav's press conferences was physicality. Yeah. I don't think Lingard, he doesn't offer either. I don't think Martial offers any physicality.
Oh, I do.
I genuinely don't, Ricky. I don't think he can lead a line. I don't see it, mate. He's been here now, 5-6 years. He's had one standout season. I don't believe for 1 second he offers
far more physicality about him than Rashford or Greenwood.
I listen, Ricky. On that score, I agree.
That's the
listen, guys.
The point of my argument. He's banging on
Gentlemen,
and on. He's mentioning physicality every 2 minutes.
Yes,
he's got a striker who's more physical than the strikers that are playing.
But listen,
does that not make a case?
But listen, right? The only partnership, Ricky, and you come back at me, the only partnership I want to see up front, but unfortunately, if the recent news articles are to be believed, the gentleman is going to Barcelona in January, is Cavani and Ronaldo. That's the only partnership up front that I personally want to see. Lingard's agent came out with that statement recently. Obviously, Martial, and Ralph obviously didn't respond well to it. He is annoyed that the player didn't come to him directly. And to be honest with you, Ricky, I already think that Radnick is saying, right, if that's your attitude, mate, you can go as well. But now the fact that Cavani could be going in January to Barcelona, we may be stuck with Martial until May. And Martial might, by default, actually get you a chance. But I don't believe he's the answer personally, Ricky, okay?
No, I think everyone's different. I don't think we should be comparing Martial to Greenwood or Rashford. I think you've got to judge every player on his own attributes, and it's a totally new system. So I think, like Ricky said there, I do think that you are going to have to give it a bit of time. You're going to need to give it a bit of time for him to see.
The manager has got to compare the players.
Oh yeah, that's what I just said. That's what I just said. It's going to take time. It's going to take time. And like you, Ricky, you was moaning about the players that were picked against Norwich. I pulled you on it last time. I said, give the guy a chance to check these players, let them see how they work. He would have learned an awful lot from Norwich. He grinded it out. You're a professional team. You got the goal. Yeah, let's sit back. Let's just dig in now and get this result and move on. And everyone lost the shit. And it's like, well, give the guy a chance. Vicky's talking about bringing in Martial and needs to compare this and that. That doesn't get done in 2 weeks. It doesn't. And we also brought in the training ground and this extra time that he's taken advantage of. So for me, I do believe, I think, Kev, a few of these players have got a chance. But you need to show the right attitude at the start. And maybe he's just saying, look, Martial, you're taking a couple of weeks out while I try some other people because I didn't like this you did off the field. So we don't know how Ralph's working. It could be anything. Like Vicky said, it could be a smokescreen, Kev. I do believe that he's implementing a sort of way of how things work. And if you're in with that, first of all, then you come into the reckoning of you might be able to get into the team. That it looks like right now, he's taking every opportunity he can to look at everyone. So I don't think the door's shut on Martial. I don't think the door's shut on any player. We said this at the start. The only thing we're hearing is January noises, Kev. Stupid agent comments and things that are being made up in the press, like what Jay said. So Ranieri's probably laughing at us talking about it. He's probably laughing at everyone in the papers. He knows what he's doing. I do believe, though, that he did take advantage of that little break that he could, the loophole, like the guys were saying.
Yeah.
So I do believe that there's a chance for every player in this squad still, mate. And this time, this games, mate. And now we're going to see double game week every week if it carries on the way it is, mate, aren't we?
I would think that a lot of players will get a chance, but I will just go back to a point on where I can't agree that everybody will. What one lad that you've just all mentioned, Jesse Lingard, I think Young Boys was a test for Jesse Lingard. I think Rangnick did that purposely. He looked at him as being sort of the older head amongst a lot of young kids and that he tried to blood in that game and bring through. And I was absolutely shocked and very, very disappointed with his attitude of Jesse Lingard. And for me at West Ham, he's a small fish. A big fish in a small pond at West Ham when he went there on loan, and he was brilliant. Big fish, little fish. And at Manchester United, he's a little fish in a massive pond. He'll just get left behind at Manchester United. I think that was
Kevin. You know what he is at United? He's a goldfish. He's in
that cardboard box as well. He's in the cardboard box.
But I honestly, mate, I was so disappointed with him again.
I was, mate. I was totally with you, mate. I actually bigged up Lingard, and I thought, you know what? Go on, take your chance, Jesse. You love the club. You said you want to stay in the summer. Go on, son. Just do it. Show me that you've got something. Show me that little bit of Mourinho form that Jay mentioned, and change my mind. Because we're all too willing. We all have players we critique, but we're all too willing, apart from Ricky on odd occasions, to accept defeat on some players. I'm only having a joke, Rick. And we're fans. We love to be proved wrong. if some player comes out and changes our minds, it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. We love it. That's our job as fans. You know what I mean? We're here to give our opinions and support the team on the pitch. We do like a bit of a moan after the game as well if things aren't going right, but we're allowed to. You know what I mean? And I'm with you, Kev. I was for every single player, I was gutted in my own mind that Jesse brought out that performance. I was just like,
it's an attitude thing for me. I thought his attitude absolutely stunk.
Yeah.
Shocking.
And that, for me, that is going down in Ranić's book straight away. And that's in that category of you're not in our inner circle here of how it works. You know what I mean? You're out of the circle now, son.
That was a test.
I think Martial will come back in it. Yeah. I think Martial will come back in it. But it's one of them. We'll see, won't we? I mean, moving on. I mean, Arnold, Woodward, news coming out today, Vicky. It doesn't really interest us that much, mate, but we're hearing now that Woodward is going to get an advisory role for a few months more at the football club. I mean, is there any point? Should we just say to this guy, look, go make some money, Ed, and leave the football to the footballers, mate? Because if there's one thing he has got right is the making of the money, but clearly, with the signings he's made, the contracts that are out there, he has put us in the predicament we're in now in terms of getting rid of players, Rick.
I don't understand all this advisory role, Like, how can, Rangnick's supposed to be having an advisory role after he stops being the manager. So if he's going to have an advisory role, why does the advisory person need an advisor? Do you know what I mean? Maybe two heads, maybe two minds can but. For me, an advisory role, I don't. What can he advise Rangnick on? I can't.
Nothing.
I just don't get it.
I don't know what he's advising. I mean, Jake, Arnold's the new CEO as well. There's a lot of news coming out of the club today. They're taking this little loophole break seriously, aren't they, mate? By throwing a few snippets of news out.
Look, that's probably the worst kept secret ever. That Arnold is taking over as the CEO. We all know Arnold went to university with Woodward at Bristol. So, again, it's part of the old boys club. And, like, if Woodward is, as advisor, as Ricky points out there, an advisor on what? He's presided over 10 years of gross incompetence, overpaying average players, sign them on long-term contracts when they've got a year left. As in case in point, Ricky, your favourite, Anthony Martial, he's on 12 million a year at the moment in wages. So even if you were to try and sell him in January, who's going to pay his wages? Phil Jones, another example. He presided over the Ballon d'Or incoming player, Sanchez from Arsenal. Remember him? 400,000 per week. Oh. The David De Gea 375 goalkeeper, who we love David De Gea, but we didn't need to pay Henderson 140. So there's been just a litany of these, and it's only players' contracts. We could go on and on and on about the mistakes that he's made, but because Woodward was instrumental in the takeover way back when in 2013. So to the Glazers, he's the golden goose. He's made them multi millions. So if it was a case that Woodward was just going to stay on the financial accounting and business side of things and leave the football to the football people, I think the fans wouldn't have an issue. But from what I've read about Woodward, he is a huge egomaniac, and he will still want to get involved in football decisions. So you're going to have Arnold, who's not a football man, plus Woodward is not a football man, and they're going to be overseeing Ranić, and Ranić is supposed to cause this little mini revolution in the club in the next 2 years. Guys, I don't know. It just seems to me, I've said this thing before on the show, it's rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic and expecting a different result.
I mean, Kev, do you reckon they're trying to spin it the other way? I know it's still the same old behind the scenes at United, and this is where we are now, largely because of it. They're the ones who appoint the managers as well, Kev. But Ranić inside, and knowing what Ranić's history is like in terms of signings and financing, he's not a marquee signing man. So he is going to save these guys quite a bit. I mean, he may even make them look better doing what he does. I mean, you only have to spin off the players that Rangnick has pulled out of football and brought up to the highest level, mate. I mean, he's got some big names on his resume that he brought through and he spotted. So, in a way, could it not work for these two? I mean, we know it's not going to work for us. It never will do because of what they've done in the past. But is there a case that Ralph being upstairs probably will paper over a lot of cracks, but he could actually start fixing a lot of things as well, mate. And it'll be interesting to see when Ralph does go upstairs, how it all kicks off and starts. Because when he does go up, he's going straight into a transfer window, isn't it? And it is. It's going to be very interesting, Kev. But could he start turning the tide a little bit in terms of us going back to the days when we found players instead of going out and just buying the best? I know United should be doing that. We should be always buying the best in class. But because there's a chance he could actually spin it the other way again.
I would like to think so. I'll just touch on that point very quickly because I think it is a belter. Ricky quite rightly said earlier, the Norwich game, I think that was the wake-up call for Rangnick where he thought, bloody hell, things are bad here. You know, I've got my work cut out to try and get some kind of a system into place. But on the talk of kind of transfers and what players, we've done the marquee names, haven't we? We've been down that route of the Di Marias, the Falcaos, the Alexis Sanchez. We brought in players like Schweinsteiger that were, you know, clearly past it, would have been brilliant 5 years previous. We've kind of gone down every route, every avenue and just exhausted it. So for me, it is getting back to some kind of basics. Now, the basics of it is, and you couldn't really do it under previous managers because we've not had an identity. Absolutely no style of football, anything. You think back to the days of Louis van Gaal, even Mourinho to an extent, David Moyes and that. And you're like, were we ever did anybody really know what they were getting from Manchester United? So what you get now is if Rangnick can get in and get these players playing some kind of a style of football, which a lot of us are debating, it will be high intensity, high pressing up the field, winning the ball back, defensively solid, then all you're looking really to go out then is bring players in to fit that system. It doesn't have to be somebody that's, you know, one of Raiola's clients or whatever, 400, 500 grand a week, somebody that's going to cost 100, 200 million. It doesn't necessarily have to be that. And I've said it before, look at like Jurgen Klopp. I know he spent a lot of money in that, but Andy Robertson is a great example of bringing somebody in, not massive money, as we talk about Premier League prices, but just somebody who come in and fits into a system. You need a manager that is clued up like that, somebody that can spot somebody and go, that lad would bring so many great attributes to my club and he will fit into my style of play. I can mold that player into what I want. I always look at Leicester City. What a great club, how brilliant they are ran. And when it comes to bringing in players, you think back to Kante, absolute steal, world class. For Manchester United should have been competing for somebody like that, but we didn't. Again, they've done it with Tielemans. That they will continue to do that because up above, their scouting network and recruitment is absolutely bang on. And that is another part of Manchester United, the empire, that's just crumbled. It has. And that's where we've got left behind big time compared to all these other clubs.
I'm with you, Kev. I'm not too bothered about. Sorry, I'm not too bothered about us spending multi millions. I mean, I am big time into being able to realise what a good player is, what a bargain player might be for whatever reason. I often get criticised by people for talking about. I only like them because I think they're good players. I don't like them because they're older players like Matic and Mata. A lot of people take the mickey out of me because I like Matic and Mata. They're still good players. Against young boys last week, one Mata was the best player on the field. Best player on the field, never give the ball away. Absolute class. But what I was going to say...
Yeah, he did, Ricky, and he wasn't that good, mate. Calm it.
He was the best player on the field. He's cross-field passing. What's Bruno trying to play cross-field passes? He don't come a yard off the ground and get cut out. He played 2 or 3. He was different class. Anyway, I wasn't going to say that. I was talking about a manager who understands what a bargain is. And you mentioned Robertson at Liverpool. How many years How many years' service have they had out of James Milner? Didn't they get him on a free? I mean, they've had him about 4 or 5 years. I think he's about 34 now. He's still playing. You know what I mean? That's a bargain. Than that.
Yeah.
That's a bargain.
And that's it.
But even
he went from Leeds to City to Liverpool.
I don't know whether we'd be. I don't mean this obviously a City player or a Liverpool player. I just mean another player who. I don't know whether we'd be afraid of signing a player on a free transfer who's maybe 28, 29, 30 because of what the fans might say. But sometimes it works. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, so look at Sir Alex Ferguson, and I know we go back, and it was a long time ago. There was players that he signed that fit. Obviously, Peter Schmeichel had played in the Euros leading up to that. So as a kid, I remember thinking, I'm going to watch him. Sensational. Even our previous manager, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, for £1 million or whatever. Nobody had heard.
Dennis Irwin.
Yeah. Well, Ronnie Johnson, Henningberg. Yeah. Players like that come in, not world beaters, but by God, did they do a job at Manchester United? And even to an extent, Vidic and Evra. Who'd heard of them and thought, I'd sign them.
They were it. I mean, Jake, does it need to be... And we're talking about all these players that were coming in. I think we tried to follow the old Sir Alex Ferguson philosophy under managers after he left. It just doesn't work. When you haven't got a system, a style of play, or a manager that is actually in control of the squad, then bringing in these players here and there just doesn't seem to work. And we've tried that year on year since Sir Alex Ferguson's left. You have to sort of figure out your way of playing, your best strengths, and then start bringing them players in. And that, I think, is probably where a lot of people are going to be really intrigued when Ralph does go upstairs in the summer, mate, as to what happens next. That's the intriguing bit, isn't it, mate? Because he'll know, and he'll be obviously in touch and communicating with the next manager already. He knows the strengths of this current squad, and he has got a say, apparently. So I think this is the exciting bit about it, mate, what he does. Because I agree with Kev and Ricky. I've given up on marquee players. I've said it all along. United made marquee players more often than not. They were actually made at Manchester United and became famous at the club because they were brought into a style of play and they were brought in to a system and they were all brought through at the right time. I don't think it's a good time as a young player to come into United squad because we're all over the place. I think Ralph weaning out the bad, well, I won't call them bad, the ones that are just not going to work, and then bringing in the summer what we might need and maybe introducing the young players when it starts to get, and it's just going to take a bit of time, mate, because it has got that messed up, Jay.
If you go through the amount of so-called marquee players that we've signed post-Ferguson, how many of them actually worked out? Apart from Ibrahimovic. Think about it, guys. Bastian Schweinsteiger, who I was a massive fan of, I went to Germany to see him 3 times and he's prime Bayern Munich. I love Schweinsteiger, but unfortunately he was past it. Falcao, Di Maria, Pogba, he hasn't worked out, lads. You know, I'm up there for debate. Who else? They haven't worked out. So I would be completely on board Radnick. And guys, in the comments, everyone in the free chat will probably put up more players that I haven't thought about. But I love the fact now that, you know, that squad next season, we're probably going to get between 3 and 5 players that none of the 4 of us sitting here have really researched or known a lot about. But Radnick will have come across himself through his own coaching context over the last 5 seasons that he's probably flagged when they were 17, 18-year-olds, and now they're 22, 23. They're just on the cusp of the big time, and they're the kind of players he wants because he can work with them, and he will pick players to fit his system. Radley's kind of coach, he will put the round peg in the round hole, whereas previous managers. And I know it was the policy of Woodward that Woodward wanted the marquee signing because it was a marketing thing, it was a social media thing, but it didn't work on the pitch. I don't see Radnick signing players of that ilk, and whoever comes in as the manager, be it Ralph staying on for a year longer or whatever, or whoever comes in, I don't see us in the next 3 years anyway signing any more marquee signings. And I know some elements of the fan base, they won't like that. They'd be like Chris Hu. Right? They literally want the big marquee FIFA signing because it sells shirts and it looks good. But at the end of the day, all that matters to me and old school fans is what happens on the pitch. Like, who, for instance, had heard of Dennis Irwin when he played for Oldham? Irwin played against United in the 1990 FA Cup semi-final for Oldham and ran the game at left back. Following season, Ferguson signs him up. Who had heard of Cristiano Ronaldo when he played for Sporting Lisbon? We go on his pre-season tour. What does Fergie do? Signs him up.
John O'Shea.
So Radnick. John O'Shea, yeah, because John O'Shea is still having nightmares about Ronaldo in that pre-season friendly. So, seriously, guys, like how many of you, like back in 2003, knew who Cristiano Ronaldo was? None of us did. Let's be fair, we didn't. Right. We hadn't a clue. Yeah. So Radnick is going to bring in, I reckon, 3 to 5 players over between now and next August that we haven't even heard of, and that's going to be such a journey.
Jay, great point.
Yeah, I could go back. Oh my God, the names that roll off mine. I mean, you can bring Roy Keane into the equation there. You know what I mean? We've seen what he was doing at Forest. You can bring Andre Kanchelskis into this equation there, and we all know how much of an unbelievable winger he was. We dragged in Antonio Valencia. I know people don't rate Valencia, but when he first came before his leg break, he was a brilliant winger for us. You know, from Wigan. Yeah. These little signings that we did, they all came in and they were easy to come in because we were settled. We had a way. I think it's just got that mixed up that we have got some promising young players, but like I keep saying, it's a horrible time to come in because the consistent changing of manager, different styles, it's just not going to work. And hopefully Ranić now, I think it's scaring players because he's got a free pass himself. Because if he's going after 6 months and keeping his job, he's like, well, if you don't agree with what I'm going to do, then I'm going to be in charge upstairs and I'm going to be speaking to the next manager, and it's going to be the same for you again. It's about time you pulled your sleeves up and started playing for this shirt. And a lot of players are going to be under the spotlight. I keep saying that, I know, but I just feel like it is the right time now. And I think a lot of them are probably they're either going to put it in or they're going to be shipped out. I do believe it. And I think, Jay, you're right in terms of them players that we don't know about coming in just to work and fit in a system. And Ricky will be absolutely buzzing with that one. Players keep in shape, fit in a system, and then start from there. You know, let's build and let's get some proper coaching in. And we're looking forward to seeing it. Another one.
Jota's another one. You know, at Liverpool, a player like that, but he would have gone under the radar. Now, to Manchester United at that time, everybody knew about him because he played for Wolves, but nobody knew that he's hit the ground running at Liverpool. It pains me to say it, but when you sit back and take your red tinted specs off, you look at something like that and think, Klopp's just like identified that player and thought, yeah, we'll take him. You know, we can turn him into something here. And I think he's been brilliant this season for Liverpool.
He's absolutely class. It's amazing. It is amazing how
he's one of them. Ricky's right. He's one of them. It's like when I speak to Liverpool fans, and I know a lot of Liverpool fans we chat, and they're like, "What do you reckon?" I says, Jota will score because he always scores. I hate him, and that tells you everything you need to know about him because he's that good. He terrorizes Manchester United every time he plays us because his intelligence levels are off the scale. And I hate to say it that Liverpool snuck in again and got another player like that, but that's the type of player. Can you integrate that player? Can you find the Dwight York to come up from that mid-table-ish to the next level? Your scouts and your coaching system should be communicating together to realise that is the player that will complement an Andy Cole. You know what I mean? That's that player who's going to take us to the next level. I do believe we'd have won more Champions Leagues if Owen Hargreaves didn't get injured because he was an absolutely superb central midfielder. And I thought United were invincible when we had Hargreaves in our midfield. I went to every ground thinking we're going to win here today. I had no fears at all. That's the type of play. You know, you're bringing in just on the low key. That's what I'm hoping will come. But guys, we're nearly done the show. But guys, do smash a like on the video as well before we finish up quickly. there's all that big fear. We're looking forward to talking football, and it feels good, guys. But I mean, Rick, there are rumours that in January we could be going back to no fans in the stadium. How it's a bit of a downer and everything like that. But is it just important that we get football carrying on? Are you disappointed if we do go back to that?
It's the same as I said last year when it happened. I'll be gutted if it does go back to behind closed doors. But as we said at the time, it's better than nothing. At least it's on the TV. At least you can watch it. You know what I mean? But
feet up with your Santa hat on, mate.
Hopefully, it doesn't mean that we go into lockdown. I mean, last time we were actually in lockdown, I think, weren't we? And couldn't really go out to places. And at least we had football on the telly at home. It saves you from going round the bend. You know what I mean? But so if it does happen, it's not really the end of the world. But I will be gutted. So long as football keeps going, that's the main thing. And before you know it, I don't know, if they do go behind closed doors, it might only be a few weeks, and then it'll be back to crowds again.
Yep. Hopefully I am back. I did do a disappearing act there for a second, but just give me a thumbs up if I'm back, lads, just to let me know. Yep, I'm okay. I'm there. I mean, Jay, I was hoping to, know what I mean, see you coming over, obviously meeting up and everything like that, but we've just got to get the season done, haven't we, mate? Is it going to bother you if the fans aren't in the stadium again?
Yeah, of course it is. Like, why the hell did we all go and get double vaccinated? Why am I going on Monday? I think Monday I got my booster. Wasn't that the whole thing that we were sold by my government and your government? Get vaccinated, get the booster, and life will go. Yeah, life will go on, and it just seems that now there's, and now all of a sudden now we've gone into the COVID stand again, and it's hard not to. But it begs the question, guys. Our respective governments, they seem to be limping from one crisis to the next. There is no grand plan. It's going on a wing and a prayer. Like you've got a prime minister that reminds me of Frank Gallagher, just in a better suit. Let's have a party. Like Jesus, we've got two Muppets here around the country, and the one guy doesn't know what the other guy is doing. And when they do interviews, each of them are contradicting each other. Like from today in Ireland, all bars, restaurants, cinemas close at 8 o'clock. That's it. Go home, lads. So both our governments are going literally from a wing and a prayer. Like I want to come over in January with my son. Jay. But the thing is, right? The pubs here now will close at 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock. And what people are going to do? Go back and have house parties, a la Frank Gallagher. Wear no masks. So the whole thing just breaks down again. And like I had great intention of coming over in January with my young lad, bring him to Old Trafford for his first visit. Every dad wants to bring their son to their first big game. Yeah. And it's not going to happen now either in January. And it's disheartening. To be honest with you, it's disheartening. It is. I know I've given a long answer to a very short question, but yeah, it is disheartening. Go back behind closed doors. If it happens, I hope it's only a short-term measure. But I would ask, how necessary is it?
Yes.
I would ask.
If you want a more in-depth breakdown of everything Jay was saying there, do follow in on Instagram. I did see something pop up with "I'm very unhappy Jay" talking about things like this on Instagram the other day. But I'm gonna bring it back. I'm not gonna finish the show that way. Just to finish up, we're starting Christmas Jumper Week this week, everyone. Kev, give me a standout Christmas movie before you go, mate. What's your go-to, pal? We're staying at home. What are you going to, mate? What's your film? Everyone in the comments, let me know what it is as well. Come on.
It's got to be Elf. Although I can say that because if my youngest son was here, I'd be like, yeah, it's Home Alone. Of course it is. But deep down, it's Elf every day of the week, mate. It's got to be. Will Ferrell.
It was on. Ricky, have you got a go-to, mate? What's your fave, man?
Not really these days, but I will say when I was a young lad, in the early 70s, every single Christmas, Zulu was on with Michael Caine, and I must have watched Zulu on Christmas Day 10 years in a row.
Only, do you know what? Do you know what? When I actually break that down, it makes a lot of sense now. The tactical sort of breakdown on how they actually set up in formation in Zulu. That's right up your street. It's all making sense, Ricky, now. It's about shape and tactics.
Exactly.
It's the Zulu.
Three bags of 12 they had instead of 2 bags of
I remember it well. I actually love that film, by the way. It's a cracker. Jake, go on, mate. Before we go, what's yours, pal?
Die Hard. Christmas doesn't begin until Hans Gruber falls off a tower. Then Christmas begins.
Oh, it is a jazzer. It's always on as well, isn't it? It is. One thing I always do for Christmas, it just seems to be Only Fools and Horses without fail, constantly, every single night, just watching that episode after episode. I can't get enough of it. I think, what's it on? It's always Miami Twice. It's always on at Christmas. Absolutely love that one. And that's
is
my
that the one where Del's doppelganger is a mafia boss?
Yes, that's
that
the
it?
one.
Yeah,
mate.
it's gold. Yeah, it's gold. It's gold. Yeah, it's
brilliant.
Gold.
But guys, that is it for now. I've convinced you all to go and put a Christmas movie on, I'm sure. Anyway, football is still carrying on as well. Hopefully, this time next week we will be at Newcastle. I've booked my hotel. I've done it. I've committed to it, guys. It's there. It's there. I booked my hotel. I'm staying over in Newcastle on the 27th. Sorted it out with all the guys. It is happening. We're watching it. It may not be pretty, but at least we'll have a game to watch. Well, Jay, cheers for coming on as always, mate. Absolute blast tonight, pal.
Pleasure. Thank you. Pleasure.
Rick, cheers, mate. Brilliant you having you on there with that hat. There's the Tony Cup.
Oh, my Jesus.
Tony Cup.
Martial to start at Newcastle.
Kev, mate, off for a few red wines.
Not tonight, mate. Not on a school night. Finish on Wednesday, man. So yeah. I think I'm back on the United stand Wednesday night. So
that's it.
That could get interesting because that's the day that I finish. So we will see.
That will. We will be back in Christmas jumpers. We are Christmas jumper in it all week, guys. Do give the video a like before you leave. Obviously, subscribe to the United Stand. We are back tomorrow with more content. I think Romano is on tomorrow as well. So do tune into the United Stand tomorrow. And obviously, we're counting down and waiting for the football to come back. But enjoy the last week last normal working week of 2022, everybody. We'll see you in the week. For now,